It is finally time to start the teardown of the VQ35 and start the build for what will become this Datsun's heart and soul. Now, a long time back, I picked up this VQ35 from a salvage 2004 350Z. Now, this meant I was able to pick it up for pretty cheap at the time, but there was some damage to it. Now, the biggest part of this damage comes from this side of the timing cover where the AC compressor used to be. Seems like the bolts got sheared off and took most of the plate with it. But overall, these are things I'm not too concerned about, considering that's not actually part of the block that's damaged. It's really just the timing cover. So being that this is a completely stock VQ35, I knew that it would have a lot of the parts and components I would need to actually build this engine. Now, a lot of the stuff here isn't even going to stay. I'm planning on doing a full rebuild on this thing and doing big upgraded parts. Now, I do already have a lot of plans for what I want to do with this engine. Specifically, I want to tear it all the way down to the bottom end, the whole way down, checking to make sure everything's in good shape, that there are no cracks or breaks. Also in the block, I'm going to be looking for stuff like ring ridge with the overall age of this engine, making sure that there isn't any other components that may fail down the road. The really cool thing about the VQ35 is that the aftermarket is exploding with parts for these things. You can get everything from stroker kits to stroke it to 4 liters, turbo kits, single or twin, supercharger kits that are centrifugal or twin screw. Everything you could imagine will basically bolt onto one of these. And while all those options are really cool, I don't really see it fitting this Datsun in the build I want. What I really want to see out of this is basically I'm going to up the compression in it. I'm going to go much bigger cams, much more aggressive intake and exhaust, basically really getting this thing to breathe really well, upping the ECU, fuel rails, fuel injectors, and really try to hit this thing just over the mark of 300 horsepower. So that's the rough idea for what I wanted to do with this thing. There are also a lot of other things I'm going to be exploring as I go along with this to make sure that the build overall is exactly what I want. Basically, I want to make sure it's super sprightly, revs really quick and really high, but at the same time I want to make sure it's really reliable and something that I can drive around anytime I feel like it. It's not necessarily something like a fragile race car that can barely see a stoplight without having to get bogged down. So that's the overall direction I'm going with this. I think it's something that in the end I'm going to be really happy with, and also it's going to be a bit on the cheaper side to build than, say, a big turbo kit or something that's going to involve a lot of extra fabrication and stuff to make it fit in this car and work really well. So with that, I'm going to start tearing into this thing. You'll be kind of along for the ride, seeing what all parts are in this thing, and I'm super excited about this, and I just want to get to it. So that is a wrap on the VQ35 Teardown for now. Now from here I plan on taking this to a machine shop, making sure that the crank gets balanced, gets weighted properly, because I want this thing to be an absolute screamer and definitely be in the upper RPM ranges. Besides that, I want to make sure that the block itself is in good health, good shape to actually build from. And upon the visual inspection, I didn't see any ring ridge on this thing, but there is a little bit of stuff at the top of the cylinders, and basically want to make sure this thing gets honed down, be a really clean start for the build I want to do on this. Now all this work is really going to let me build this engine to be the type of power plant I want for this Datsun. Now the types of numbers that I'm looking for this thing is somewhere just over the 300 horsepower mark. 320 I think would be a really good, safe, reliable number. And as far as torque, I'm not too concerned about it because these things naturally make somewhere in the range of the upper 200s. Anywhere in there I think is fine and really sufficient for how light this Datsun is already. Something to definitely be preppy, get up and go in just about any gear. So those are the types of things I'm looking for, and all that will be coming on down the road as I start to throw in parts to this thing. As for now though, I'm going to go ahead and start getting my parts list together for everything I need. Everything from pistons and rods, looking at all the head work I'll need, cams, valves, springs, all that kind of stuff. Eventually looking at clutch and flywheel setups. All that kind of stuff will be coming up in future videos, so definitely stay tuned for that. Now overall, I'm super excited to be at this point in the build. This is something I've been waiting for years at this point, and to actually get this thing torn down and started on this project for all the engine stuff is absolutely thrilling. So thank you so much for watching this. Thank you to everyone who has been subscribed and following this build. All the continued support that you guys have and excitement for this is super encouraging for me and helps me basically continue this thing. So definitely stay tuned for what else is going to be happening with the VQ35 as I start to build it up here in future videos. I cannot wait to be adding all the cool parts to this and actually getting the Datsun to be roadworthy. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll be seeing you in the next video.